Just what the internet needed. Fresh takes, unimpeded on movies. The tears and the laughter. Sounds like a job for Silver Screen Capture.
Welcome to Silver Screen Capture. I'm Stephen Michael Brown, the founder and chief film critic of SilverScreenCapture.com. This is our video companion to the website, where we'll describe movies worth seeing and others worth skipping, and we'll occasionally include news, interviews, and other features to be able to tell you about new films that are coming to theaters and to streaming. It's an exciting season with the Oscar nominations announced. For those who haven't heard, the 10 movies that are up for Best Picture this year are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. And that's a pretty compelling lot of Best Picture candidates. I was a very big fan of Anatomy of a Fall, and I was delighted to see it overperform in the Oscar nominations. I happen to not love Poor Things or The Zone of Interest like a lot of other critics, but they're still very well-made movies and have a lot of fans. And I have all the reviews up on my site. Look forward to sharing more and predictions as we get closer to the Oscars. I'll actually be hosting a party here in the town at Trilith at Enzo, so look forward to information about that so I can interact with a lot of folks as we watch the Oscars together on March 10th. Look forward to that. Today I'm going to tell you about two films that came out on the very end of last year that are now entering theaters. They were out for awards consideration for at least a couple of days or weeks in 2023. Here in 2024, they're slowly trickling into theaters, possibly showing up in streaming as you're watching this. And those two films are Origin and All of Us Strangers. A brilliant new film imagines a world in which people outlast a system that makes outcasts. Writer-director Ava DuVernay's cerebral drama Origin unfolds like a procedural as its central character, writer Isabel Wilkerson, played beautifully by Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, sets herself off on a path of global investigation while authoring the book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, about how civilizations ranging from Germany to India to the US have oppressed and dehumanized certain groups in their societies. Watching the protagonist's intellectual discoveries while she simultaneously grapples with tragedy makes for an unusual structure that summons evocative flashbacks and compelling side stories to demonstrate the interconnectedness of people's plights around the world. It sounds heavy, and it is, but the journey is essential, and the work has the ability to move and enlighten audiences in unexpected ways. DuVernay is in complete command here of her vision and builds on a compelling documentary movie-making style to fashion a type of neo-parable that should be seen in classrooms everywhere. The lush cinematography by Matthew J. Lloyd and the urgent music by Chris Bowers helps propel a conversation-filled movie into a very watchable experience. Matching the majestic Ellis-Taylor are ensemble members ranging from the filmmaker's muse, the exquisite and funny foil, Niece Nash Betts, to a very nuanced performance by Jonathan Bernthal. Audra McDonald, Nick Offerman, and a bunch of other familiar faces show up in this globe-trotting adventure of enlightenment. There's a quiet child performance in the film that alone is one of the most heartbreaking captured. As the director shows the man-made obstacles that block empathy and a shared destiny among people, she points out optimism of a push toward collective freedom. The film is stirring and essential, and I give it an A-. The protagonist, Adam, superbly played by Andrew Scott, has some unfinished business to reckon with in Andrew High's intimate, immersive, dramatic fantasy, All of Us Strangers. The hero's journey involves a new romantic partner in the form of Paul Mescal and an interlocking plot in which Adam's parents, Claire Foy and Jamie Bell, come back into his life despite having perished in a car crash 3 decades earlier. Given the intricacy of the film's structure and the cerebral presentation of an unlikely premise, High guides his characters masterfully with a transfixing wisdom and wistfulness. The film's bending of time and space works so effectively because Scott keeps viewers so grounded in his emotional arc. He delivers a quietly revelatory performance. Mescal continues his streak of interesting indie roles. I loved Aftersun last year, with a strong portrayal of a character just out of reach. And Foy and Belle are wonderful as the flawed but fabulous couple who get to tie up some loose ends with the adult son they never knew. The film is a talky tearjerker that ponders some big issues, including loneliness and abandonment, and is sure to provide tender recognition to those who have lost loved ones. High continues to traverse unexplored territory about gay characters and doesn't serve up easy answers. He blazes new emotional and filmmaking landscapes. From its effective use of evocative pop music to its stunning close-ups of interlocking characters thrust into unexpected disclosures, the film is a lovely discovery and a must-see for cinephiles. I give it a B+. This week I've just finished watching a variety of new movies that have come out of the Sundance Film Festival, and there were a lot of good ones to recommend that will soon be picked up by studios and distributed to a town near you or a streaming service. Some of the ones that I highly recommend are In the Summers, which was the big prize winner at Sundance this year. It's a story about a father and his two daughters who spend various summers together as the girls are coming of age and growing up. The father is very troubled, an alcoholic, and the daughters are going through their own struggles, but it's very interesting to watch those 4 summers together, set in New Mexico. Some great performances. You'll look forward to seeing this. Another movie I recommend coming out of Sundance is called Kneecap, and it's a story set in Ireland. Kneecap is a band that's playing a slightly fictionalized version of themselves. The band finds itself in an unusual position. Despite the fact that they're mainly on drugs all the time and partying, they find themselves actually fighting for their home language, the Gaelic language in Ireland, while the Queen's English is being pushed as the de facto exclusive language of the country. And if you like The Commitments or you liked Once, this is another story of a ragtag band fighting against all odds in Ireland. And you will definitely be seeing it soon in theaters. 2 different movies with unlikely protagonists, Ponyboi and Layla, were also hits at the festival. Ponyboi is a crime caper featuring River Gallo, who is both the writer and the star of the film. Gallo plays a sex worker who is on the run from the law and from the villainous character played by Dylan O'Brien when a situation goes wrong with one of the clients. It is a very, very exciting movie, and you're definitely going to be surprised by it at every stage. The other movie, Layla, is about a drag queen in England who is also Muslim and from the Middle East. So you can imagine some of the difficulties of living in different lives and in different worlds, trying to fit in that particular situation. But Layla is an outstanding movie with great performances and a lot to recommend as well. A recommended documentary coming out of Sundance is Every Little Thing. It's actually the story of a woman in California who rescues hummingbirds at her home ranch. It's very exciting to actually watch the different birds and their recovery, learning to fly again. It's very inspirational and an unlikely story to watch with these tiny birds coming back to life. One other highly recommended movie that came out of Sundance is going to be a very mainstream hit. It's called Thelma, and it stars June Squibb, who you might have seen in movies like Nebraska. And she is a senior who gets scammed by a call of a person posing as her grandson who's asking for money. Once she is embarrassed by this situation, she doesn't take it lying down. She traverses the city of Los Angeles to go after the person who perpetrated this crime against her to get revenge. And she's paired up with Richard Roundtree, who we all know is the person who originated the character of Shaft. So the late Richard Roundtree is her partner as she goes across Los Angeles to be able to exact her revenge. It is a very mainstream comedy, definitely in the grand tradition of Little Miss Sunshine and other types of comedies that have come out of Sundance. It's not quite as good as some of those, but it's going to be highly recommended, and people are going to really enjoy June Squibb's performance. Today I've got reviews of 2 disaster movies. One is the Netflix thriller Society of the Snow. The other is a theatrical film, Godzilla Minus One. Now, if anybody was ready to direct a disaster movie that wasn't exploitive or sensational. It was the guy who directed the tsunami thriller The Impossibles a few years back. The director's name is J.A. Bayona, and his newest film, Society of the Snow, dramatizes the story of the 1972 flight in the Andes Mountains that crashed, leaving only about a third of its passengers alive. It's a movie that was already made as a film in 1993 called Alive with Ethan Hawke. And Society of the Snow is grueling and rewarding, crafted with epic filmmaking skill and ample running time, and it showcases a stirring spiritual side to this story of resilience. Those stranded by the downed plane have various conflicting perspectives about how to handle their struggle, which escalates as they face hunger, avalanche, and much more. Told with desaturated colors and realistic sound mixing against a formidable icy landscape, it's a profound and immersive work. The film's Uruguayan and Argentine cast members, most of whom are newcomers, as rugby teammates, take on vital roles to overcome their dire situation. Visual effects supervisor Laura Pedro and cinematographer Pedro Luque do wonderful work to depict muscular action and wilderness survival against a rugged, stark setting as we watch the characters waste away while keeping inventive options open. The film also honors those who were lost in the tragedy with poignant visual overlays to Michael Giacchino's evocative music. As the survivors become one another's best hope and face moral questions and rare moments of levity, Bayona creates a gripping drama and demonstrates why the story is so worthy of telling. I give the film, now playing on Netflix, a B+. Even if the great reptilian monster didn't actually make an appearance in the movie, and he does spectacularly, Godzilla Minus One would still be a fascinating epic, exploring survivors' guilt and overcoming collective trauma. This Japanese kaiju film, directed, written, and with visual effects supervised by Takashi Yamazaki, takes place in Japan during the late days of World War II and the ensuing years, as a kamikaze pilot must reckon with his own failure when faced with his own fear of mortality. The narrative weaves in real-life historic events such as the bombing of Tokyo, which leads gravitas to the proceedings. There's a tight domestic drama as well, with existential scare of the giant beast emerging. The film is smart when it comes to the physics of trying to thwart the threat and authentic in its depiction of the characters overcoming obstacles. When the towering terror does make a series of signature appearances, the effects are tremendous and the destruction at a gargantuan scale. Thank you for watching and listening to Silver Screen Capture. Be sure to subscribe and comment about your reaction to these movies and to these critiques and about films that you'd like to see reviewed. As always, and for more than a decade now, you can follow along on silverscreencapture.com for movie reviews, news, and content as it happens. Thanks for bringing me into your world to capture the essence of why we love the movies.
Just what the internet needed. Fresh takes, unimpeded on movies. The tears and the laughter. Sounds like a job for silver screen capture. Should you rush out and see it? Should you take it or leave it? He'll give you the knowledge you're after. Day in the life of silver screen capture. Kung fu fighting, moody lighting, holy terror, golden era, monsters snarling, indie darling. Can't you smell the popcorn calling? Bright lights, red carpet rolled out for insights, leaving you no doubt. They're quick film reviews coming at you. Take a seat, it's silver screen capture.